Episode 496 of the TV Dudes, recorded July 16th, 2024. Kotaro lives alone.
Let's away!
This week, we're recording a few days early since I'll be traveling, and we're talking about Patreon showrunner Danny Doggett's newest selection, Kotaro Lives Alone.
That is right, my good sir. Danny keeps insisting there is anime that we will like. And so far, he is unquestionable in his decisions.
Yes, indeed, good sir. He introduced us to
address me as my lord.
Indeed, my lord. I'm one of your loyal subjects.
Sorry, we're watching a lot of Kotaro.
We watch a lot of Kotaro then. He introduced us to the pretty okay Mob Psycho 100 and the great Delicious in Dungeon.
Yes, and after those exciting entries, we're going to see a show about a 4-year-old living on his own apartment and see if that holds the same.
4! He's 4. I can't get over this. It's going to come up a lot.
Would it be like
discussion?
Less would it be better if he was 5?
No, it wouldn't.
Would it be worse if he was 3?
He used to be like 3 times that age. It is worse when they flash back to when he's 3. It is worse. It is worse.
So it's not better going forward, but it is worse going backwards.
Somebody let him get it. That's a different apartment complex.
It's
anyway.
a math. Right there
he's
for
4.
But before we get to that, I'm Nick.
And I'm Les.
And we're the TV Dudes.
Because we are recording early this week, there's no tune-in question. But we do have extra diaries to discuss.
The Diaries of the Television Dudes. Brought to you by only the finest cocaine wine.
That's true. I was out last week when you had Kyle come on and record.
Yes, Kyle's diary was just F1.
So, we didn't also talk about
your diary by the laws of podcasting.
By the laws of, well, I mean, if so facto, that means Kyle's diaries this week have a lot of anime on it.
Yes.
I was back in my hometown, hanging with my
old
crew.
Like quantum entanglement.
So I met with the Nick of my group, anime-wise. Like he is the anime watcher of our crew and suggested stuff we would watch, and we were like, Jesus Christ, man! Like not everything has to be anime.
It doesn't have to be.
Anyway, he introduced me to Kaiju number 8, which is honestly really good. Like it's one of the better animes I've seen in a while, as far as just shoujo like action anime. It has a really good hook. Like each episode ends on a really good cliffhanger, you know, like very, it's like, well, that was resolved. And what the fuck is that? Tune in next time
to find out what the fuck that was.
Yeah. But a guy basically, there's kaijus in this world. Like they're just a regular occurrence.
Okay.
Like everyone, like kaiju alert goes off and everyone's like, shit, I'm gonna be late to work. All right. Like it's not a big deal. Like you still gotta duck and cover or you're gonna die. But like when it happens all the time, it's like
right.
Living in a tornado.
No, like tornado sirens go off and like, all right.
Yeah, okay. And this guy, he's a kaiju cleaner.
Okay.
So when kaijus get killed, they need to be cleaned by specialists.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because even their bodies are super dangerous.
I was about to say that actually makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is the thing I'm like, oh shit, I cannot believe I've never seen that before.
Right.
That would be a job.
Now, how do you like clean out not just the crime scene cleaner of it, like the blood and viscera and guts, but the radiation and shit?
Yeah, it's like one guy gets it's one guy's duty to cut open the intestines and clean that out, and that's like who's on shit detail. Well, I'm like,
oh, that's
you
great.
mean the shit detail? No. No, who's on shit detail?
You just watch a shit covered car roll out.
not adjective, shit, noun, detail.
Yes.
And so this guy wanted to join the Corps, but kind of flamed out as a recruit. And if you flame out, you still got a bunch of knowledge or whatever, so they'll train you up as in other things like a monitor or a cleaner. And so he gets inspired to try, give it one more college try, even though he's old now. He's ancient by anime
That's right. You
standards.
told me it's like the rookie, but you're learning to fight
Yeah,
kaiju.
everyone like is talking about how, well, like, oh man, this old man and his reflexes, like you cannot start a career in your like start a whole new career at 35. You don't have the the youth and the energy for it. Like, and I'm just like, and they keep saying the very specific number 35, and I was like, okay, it's starting to feel a little personal.
When your name is Nick and you're 35, hey.
Hey, what the fuck? Nick's not even a Japanese name. Like, what the fuck? Not even Niktaru. Like, we're not even gonna like the yeah. So I thought that was very good. I also watched Solo Leveling, which is basically that was one of the more boring ones I watched, and it's pretty popular right now. I'm not sure why. It's just about this fantasy world, like where portals open up in the real world, and some people got abilities, but the rule is that you wake up with the abilities you got, and that's it. No one levels up, no one gets stronger. You just got your abilities. And this one kid gets killed in the dungeon. He's a low level rank adventurer, but he gets killed by this weird god thing, and it grants him one wish, and that is that he can get stronger. So he's the only one here that can actually level up in a system.
Okay.
And that takes, and what I just described to you takes 6 episodes.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is crazy slow paced. It sucks.
Yeah. No, it's a cool idea, but no, that should be the first step.
Like kaiju number 8, like all that shit I told you about, first step.
Yeah.
Like by the time the credits roll, we're already into like, I'm gonna try out for the kaiju rollers or whatever, and take the test and whatnot. I also watched Warcraft because I was in the mood for like, I wanted to watch some fantasy uh combat basically, and I didn't want to get bogged down in lore or talky scenes or like political discourse like in Game of Thrones. And I realized there are no fantasy series like that. There is no there is no Twisted Metal of fantasy world.
Yeah.
There is no like there's no Michael Bay doesn't make like sword and sorcery
No,
movies.
well, the closest you get is your Robin Hood.
Yes. Oh yeah. I could have watched Robin Hood again.
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid. Uh, but like, yeah, as far as like dumb fun action movies, they don't correlate with fantasy.
No, the closest you usually get is Knight's Tale, something like that.
Yeah, which doesn't have orcs in it. And
No,
I was kind of
no.
like, but I want to fight orcs or whatever. But I don't want to spend 3 hours with hobbits.
Right.
Like, what if I just want to watch the orc parts?
Yeah. Where's my Fast and Furious fantasy?
So I watch Warcraft, which is not very good, but also not very
I've not
bad.
seen Warcraft, but I was just thinking, like, does Warcraft fit that for you? But technically, that's space, right?
No, is
it fantasy?
No, you're thinking of Warhammer, I think.
Oh yes, okay.
Or whatever the space version
Warcraft
of it
is like orc people.
Orcs, yeah, the Horde and versus the Alliance, which are the humans and elves and shit. And yeah, like it explains. I like that it went back and explained the origin. Like the orcs just appeared one day, and it goes back and explains like how when they first arrived, the what it was like of just like, oh, these are totally new creatures. We don't know what the fuck they are. So like someone scout them out, and like I think the movie suffers from the fact that years are going by, and it's hard to tell when that happens.
Right. It's too much history. Yeah.
I also watched the Apothecary Diaries, which is another anime. Just about this girl that is trying to make her way in a feudal Japan. It's like a historical fan fiction, basically. And she makes her way as an apothecary. Knows stuff about, healing and herbs and poison. She's the taste tester eventually, and that's pretty cool. What I liked about it was just like the subtle ways it used. There's no magic or whatever, so it's like the subtle ways of like she knows how to read and write, which puts her to a level crazy above anyone else in like feudal Japan at that time. And so they fucking fake her out. Like one of the princes puts a thing, or like writes on a thing of like, hey, you responsible for the like saving my son or whatever, stay here while the rest of these people leave. and she goes, "Oh fuck!" Like, how did he figure out it was me? And then it's too late because it takes a couple seconds. Because but then everyone leaves, and he's like, "He didn't know it was me. I'm the only one that can read. I was the only one that stayed here. Damn it!"
Yeah.
And like she gets chumped a couple times because like she can't hide how smart she is.
Right.
Which is
No, that makes sense. Like you read things kind of instantly.
right, and you do it without thinking. Yeah, it was also pretty funny, and just the way lines are delivered overall. I also finished watching, or I did a rewatch of Twisted Metal.
Yeah, I caught the very last episode of that with you.
Yeah, which like I think I'm going to do Fallout next.
Well, we
like,
started the very first episode of Fallout, but didn't get very far into it. It's so good.
It's so good. Because me and my brother, when I was back home, played Twisted Metal on like the PS3. I don't know what going forward what the storyline will be with Twisted Metal now that they have just the tournament.
Right.
But I am genuinely interested to see, like, to know that was just them in the apocalypse running around. What's the like when they actually have like a tournament and like shit can go, like, I'm like, I want it to be like, oh shit, is this gonna be what Death Race promised me?
Right. Because this is going to be all of the cities kind of working together, and we're going to get to see whatever the hell his name was that grants wishes.
Like, remember audience, do you guys remember the Jason Statham Death Race movie? Because they made like 2 or 3
with
sequels.
Ian McShane, and like there's people in it, man.
Like there's people in it.
Yeah. And you don't remember it because of reasons.
Well, I distinctly think it's because it doesn't have color. I don't think you can like watching that movie.
Death Race is inherently stupid, and you need to lean into the fucking Laugh Olympics wacky racers of it.
Well, they were trying to remake the movie that had where the one guy had a hand grenade, not a grenade like in his hand.
Like
he had a hand that was also a grenade.
Right. No.
And they decided like, well, what if we took it realistically?
No, I want to see Snidely Whiplash and all of it. Like, you better
I
Laugh
hate the late
Olympics
2000s so much.
Right. Like, why don't we just have everything like, I don't know what happens that a nuclear bomb just wipes the color saturation out of all fabric.
Like the late 2000s is lucky that the 90s came before it, because you also suck as a decade.
And I feel like some of that is a reaction against like, well, we'll do a video game movie, and then we made Super Mario Brothers, and then like the next time, like, okay, but we're gonna do it, but dead serious. All the X-Men are just gonna be in black. What did you expect? Yellow spandex? Yes. You know I did.
Feel like
know I did.
And in, like,
I'm not being the asshole here.
And in 2008, we're gonna get it. So I feel like in 2012, that we're still doing it sucks.
Yeah.
Or over when Death Race was made. Death Race was made embarrassingly not that long ago.
No.
I think
20 years ago.
And I watched Supercell, which
I watched the first and the last episode, and I got to catch those in between. It's really good.
It was really good. I really, really dug it. I like the powers. I like how they show the activation of the powers. It's a low cost CG thing in the eyes.
It's not just the Britishness of calling it Supercell. It is related to sickle cell.
Yep.
And so it's
if your parents had sickle cell, there's a rare mutation that when they pass it on, it could become supercell.
Yeah, and which is real rare and might lie dormant. And like, I like how they handle all of the power stuff and the limitations. Like, all of it's cool. You get a good flex moment because their eyes turn gold.
You know when they're using their powers. Man, I also like what you said that like, oh man, when the powers are then like very much in a black community base.
No, you need to be of African American descent, or not American, but you need to be of African descent to have sickle cell. And so like that makes it to where only a particular group of people can have it, and since that particular group of people isn't white people, man, if Tay-Sachs disease caused superpowers, there'd be a lot of flipping out fucking people in the world. Like,
and so like, yeah, they immediately like the movies.
This show opens with them already having a superhero prison ready, and I'm like, I feel like the cart was ahead of the horse here. Why do I get the feeling that you had some of these people locked up beforehand? Like the government was. If this had been all the Warren Worthingtons of the world busting out wings and shit, it'd have been public knowledge long before we started locking them up.
Luckily enough, we have 30% of the superhero population already incarcerated.
How, sir? Dumb luck.
No, well, because we just have 30% of
right.
I don't think we want to get into that, but just take the win, sir.
Like the year that we would spend in America trying to figure out if like prisons somehow caused this.
Mm-hmm.
And like, no, it's correlation's not causation, sir.
But
it makes for an immediately different stakes, and like the powers are limited to the group of people who most need. Like, what's the rule in Mario Kart? Like, if you're furthest back, you get the best power ups.
Yeah, you get if you're furthest back, you get the blue turtle shell.
When they roll up into like the poor part of town, like when they finally find whatever A town or whatever it is.
Yeah, call that because anything goes.
My brain wants to say A train every time. When they finally find A town, it's rough, man. Like, it's rough for a ghetto part of a show driving you to a ghetto part of London.
Well, they go underground. Like, there's an underground city. Like, it feels like it doesn't. It also feels like Fallout. Like, there's a projector, but only showing dark skies and like.
It's like, what are you doing here, guys?
Because I was like, again, I wanted to go like. There's a scene preceding it where the guy was like, "Hey, we're not the bad guys. We're just trying to let you guys. Like, we're trying to keep you. You guys are dangerous when your powers are untrained." Which.
Right.
Is not
fucking true.
Which is not untrue. Right. They have killed a couple people on accident already.
They're and weirdly, it's their telekinetic who just keeps She keeps like Ryan and motherfuckers into a building.
You gotta aim that. Like, people keep hitting stuff that you don't want them to hit. Like,
I keep thinking of like Ryan and the boys like hitting that dude in the chest, knocking him like 3 blocks into a building.
Maybe the guy with super strength hasn't killed anybody yet.
Right.
Like, not even on accident.
Right. But now, Taser.
Well, I mean, Taser, he's killed a lot of people, but on purpose.
Right. And honestly, just with a knife. Yes, he's invisible prior to it, but like, he's just stabbing motherfuckers.
Well, you get the feeling that like this wasn't his first time, even before he's got his powers.
No, that's what I'm like, man. Yeah.
This wasn't really. Like,
no, invisibility just made this easier.
Yeah.
Honestly, his power makes me think. I don't know if they've ever made a movie version of it. They probably have. There's a book called Fade. That's about a kid that he finds out that it's a weird family hereditary thing. It's not every generation, but he can turn invisible.
Oh shit.
And like it's a weird feeling, like he can feel himself like and then he's not there.
Okay.
And it's closing all like it's not, but doing it starts to mess with him. Like the book is very, and it's something I don't think could come across in a movie quite as well, but in the book, the more time he spends invisible, the less connected to people he feels.
Mm-hmm.
And the more his actions start, like his morals start to slip.
Well, honestly, Hollow Man 2.
Yeah, it gets into that problem of like, are you a maniac?
For those of you who don't know, there is a Hollow Man 2 with the guy from Fast
It's not their fault. As part of the marketing, they made the movie invisible.
Right. But in Hollow Man 2, they make it to where they got their hands on the formula Kevin Bacon got, right? And they give it to people, some of their agents or whatever. And like one of them has gone rogue, and like it's a common problem among these agents is that they can't like turn it off. Like there's no turning it off.
Yeah.
They don't know how to like
uninvisible
you. So you just spend your time invisible, and he's like, man, when you see people when they don't think they're looking, it changes your outlook on people.
Yes. And that kind of stuff starts to happen. Like I remember reading it as a teen and thinking like it was really cool because it was very much about like, how well do you know people? Can you still trust people? How well do you know yourself? Like, what would you do if you got a power?
What would you do if you had like really no repercussions?
Like there's no reason besides your own morals to not translucent style lurk in a bathroom.
Yeah.
And like, do you? Because you're just choosing not to. And like, it makes you realize how many times in like, no, there's laws, but like, let's be real. Laws aren't stopping us from doing things most of the time.
Yeah.
You're stopping yourself from doing things.
Yeah. There's a societal pressure and a morality, like whatever your moral system is baked into you when you were a kid.
And I like the bit in Super, like, God, they even have a moment in the last episode I saw, like one of the big fights between the team coming to hunt them and them, where they look at one of the hunters and are like, why are you fighting? They told us you were bad, bruv. I'm like, no, you're bad. No, like, I heard you're bad. Like, man, I think we're being pitted against each other.
That's what was nuts for me is that, man, you guys haven't even met the villains of this.
No,
like
watching the last episode felt like, a lot of people aren't going to take this as a compliment, but I deeply mean it as such. It felt like where Sense8 eventually gets.
Yes, yeah.
Only this gets there faster.
Yeah. Well, Sense8 spends a lot of time fucking.
Oh, man. So much time fucking. fuck.
There's a lot of fucking.
But like once Sense8 starts to really like when they all understand their powers and are starting to work between, that's where Supercell starts to feel at the end in this last episode where they're all really using their powers. Everybody.
Yeah.
In combos.
Yeah, where the super speedster is setting him up for the super strong guy,
right,
which I think is a great man. You guys should team up because the strong guy might not be able to get to everybody,
right? But
so you should
and
set him up.
The strong guy's hurt, so he really doesn't have both arms to punch with, and the speedster keeps moving someone from right to left so that he can hit them.
Yeah, just off balance, not a lot, just he's just nail it, get him,
hit him. All right, hit this guy. Okay,
the speedster doesn't have super strength.
No,
so
he's just scooting people a little bit. No, man, Supercell's cool. I'm going back and watching the rest of
that. Yeah, and that was it for my diaries.
John Paul alerted us to a bit of news. I assume there will be no more Mighty Magiswords ever.
Oh man, he mentioned this to me.
Holy shit. Kyle Carosa. Man, when they talk about like what photo of you will they pick if you're ever mugshotted or whatever, this is an unfortunate IGN panel or something that this guy was on. That's a real unfortunate photo.
I mean, that guy does not look photogenic to begin with.
No, this isn't. But like they picked a particularly sweaty day.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. But Kyle Carosa, the animator who created the television series Mighty Magiswords and worked on multiple Cartoon Network, Disney, PBS Kids, and Nickelodeon shows, was arrested on 2 child pornography possession charges.
Yikes.
Worked on the Animaniacs reboot, worked on Adventure Time, Doc McStuffins, Teen Titans Go, who's an animator on the SpongeBob movie. He does a bunch of voices, voiced a dozen characters and one of its main characters on Mighty Magiswords. Anyway, that show's done.
Yeah, apparently like it's not uncommon among this has happened a couple times with other animators.
The John K.
Yeah,
turned out to be, I can't remember what exactly, but he was creepy. Not into something that you would want working at Nickelodeon. Creepy. But yeah, anyway, no more Mighty Magiswords. Nothing's a sword ever again.
Yeah, I guess we gotta we haven't done that segment.
We haven't done that bit in a bit, but that's I believe that is officially goodbye fair bit. So I guess I've basically just let Kyle talk about F1 last week for a minute. I didn't really do my diaries. While you were out of town, I tore through a bunch of movies. I watched Varsity Blues. I cannot believe how much that movie is exactly the same plot as Friday Night Lights. It's just sillier, like to the point that I can't believe it's not all that we talk about with Varsity Blues and Friday Night Lights is how they made an Armageddon and a Deep Impact of the same sport movie.
Yeah,
and it's fucking wild. James Van Der Beek, it's even got Jesse Plemons in it. The little brother, James Van Der Beek's little brother in that movie steals it for me because it's not a subtle movie, obviously. But it is a movie very much about football as religion, right? His little brother, Van Der Beek's little brother, through the whole movie in the background is trying out different faiths. So like at one point he's like in the bow tie black suit, like assalamu alaikum, like malaikum salam, just fully like Nation of Islam.
Sure.
Yeah. And then I think when the dad finally steps in and is like, that's it, no more religion, stop it, is because he walks in and he's in a white robe with like weird stitching on it. And there's 5 more kids in white robes behind him. And he's like, these are my people. And the mom goes, honey, did you start a cult? That is so cute. And the dad's like, that's it. Stop. Stop. No cults. Stop it. The fucking movie's so weird. Also, I watched a few more Brockmire. That show is so bitter and hilarious. Holy crap. Even having seen it before, every once in a while shit comes out of his mouth where you're like, oh Lord. Yeah, it is Hank Azaria just crushing it. I watched the original Longest Yard. I watched some of the director's commentary and not director, but star and producer commentary. Al Ruddy from producer of The Godfather, and Miles Teller plays him in The Offer, and Burt Reynolds do a bunch of commentary. It was pretty cool.
Sounds like
Hey, he sounds like a rougher version of this, Bert. And he says everybody's name a lot, Bert.
Oh, okay,
Bert, you see. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's real gruff. But that was cool. I didn't realize, man.
Sounds like you're describing Ernest. You know what I mean, Vern?
Know what I mean, Vern?
Vern.
Yeah, take all the country out of him, though. But yeah, that movie is darker and more violent than you realize. Like it's Burt Reynolds' As Longest Yard. When they remade it purely as a comedy. Like they remade it with Sandler and Chris Rock
even
and
in
shit.
The comedy, Chris Tucker's character dies in a horrible
and that happens
fire.
In the original too. Yeah. Like they fill a light bulb with gasoline and like it burns Caretaker alive in his fucking cell.
Yeah, it is.
And it's dark, man.
Like it's in the comedy, it's even like, well, the rest of this movie you haven't really adapted in any like within the same vein,
right?
Like a lot of this is honestly some like probably not aged great trans jokes on the path.
They never make any outright, like they never say anything about it. It's just suddenly at the game they have a cheerleader section.
Yeah,
and like they just show that, but I rewatching it, I was like, they never pause and make a joke out of this. It's just there. Like the cheerleaders are just there.
Right.
And I can't tell if that's progressive or not. But the thing that Al Ruddy mentioned in the commentary was that the script was not a comedy. It has some funny moments in it from the tension and the horse and like, because it's about guys trying to find their humanity again. And so humor starts to arise as how to show that they're not in prison anymore. You know, like Andy Dufresne laughing after, like them having beers after Tar on the Roof. Like you want to show those moments.
It's an inherently funny situation. We're in a unique situation where they get to basically like play football dirty. And play dirty against the guards. These people that have like been shitty to them, like for
like abusively shitty
for some of them for decades.
Yeah, and like they know they're not going to win the game. Their goal is to just hit the guards,
fuck them up
to the point that Burt Reynolds gets all the guards' medical files at one point, and they list off who has previously broken what bones and where to hit people.
Yeah,
it's fucking great. But Ruddy talks about how the script doesn't really have like jokes written in. That the humor really came out of him. He was like, I knew in order for it to balance, we would have to cast an incredibly charismatic lead. Yeah. And that Burt Reynolds was really his pick. He's an ex-football player for real.
Right. And he's inherently likable.
Yeah. He's just got a natural charm to him. So he makes anything he makes assholes likable. And so once they did that, then the movie, he's like, as we were shooting the movie, I'm realizing how fucking funny it is. But it's still got all the written into the script shit, like setting a dude on fire.
Well, it describes to me Burt Reynolds' era of when he was cast and stuff had a different idea of how you could root for the hero.
Yeah.
It didn't on one level, it didn't, it was like, well, they won't rule for the guards. Those guys suck.
Right.
Like, I don't think you could make that. Like, I mean, they did, like they remade it or whatever.
But the remake is fine, but it didn't get, the remake's not going to get remade.
Well, and then the Bandit is not really, he doesn't really do anything like save the cat or like to endear him to the audience. He's just Burt Reynolds. But what really in the script of it, why you're going to root for him is you're not going to root for him. You're going to root against this dickhead cop because fuck cops, right?
Because man, this guy's just trying to have some fun.
I cannot tell you how I was not alive for it, but in the 70s, the sentiment was fuck cops.
It feels like it, man.
And then somewhere in the 80s, we during 80s buddy cop movies, we suddenly switched that around for some reason.
Right. Because man, even I rewatched the Beverly Hills Cops movies, and even in them, man, we make some jokes about like, oh yeah, Kyle, let's just shoot a few people and like what? Y'all are cops? No.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Honestly, I'm imagining the stick in the mud LA cops come off better, like Beverly Hills cops come off better than the Detroit cops.
Absolutely.
Like, what do you mean you got to wait for a warrant and stuff like that?
Well, I'll just sneak in. It's fine. I also watched Secret of My Success with Michael J. Fox, which I saw that movie in the theater and love it. It's super fun. He takes over a company. It makes no sense. But again, man, 80s movies have some weird in the first act, there's a misunderstanding where he sleeps with his aunt by marriage, but still, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, good on the non-blood relation, but also it's not going to make Thanksgiving any less awkward.
It's super weird. It is still weird. Also watched Silence of the Lambs because Fanny and I went and saw Long Legs.
Okay. And you wanted to watch an FBI like movie,
FBI. Yeah. Well, and the Osgood Perkins that directed Long Legs has said straight out that Silence of the Lambs was his biggest inspiration for Long Legs, and that he absolutely intends a 1-to-1 comparison. You should not tee that up for people.
Oh, yikes.
Because, man, I really enjoyed a lot of things in Long Legs. I feel like the outlier here. It's not a great movie. The main character has no agency. It's in service of a cool thing in the movie, but like to do it, your main character has no agency. And it's one of those things you can't quite put your finger on what's bothering you about this until you realize, like, oh, it's that we've just been carried forward on a current. There's no plot action. Like we're just on rails. Yeah.
It's important that
Fanny and I were going to discuss it for Patreon, and I don't want to just tear the most popular horror movie in the country apart right now. Especially when on style points, it is 7 cool. It looks so good and the tension's so right. They do this flashback aspect ratio change that really works, gives it a really fucking creepy vibe. But I watched Silence of the Lambs the night before. It cannot stack up. It just does not stack up to the script of Silence. That thing was so good. Lisa and I watched a couple episodes of Exploding Kittens over on Netflix.
Right, I saw that dropped.
Yeah, that's a card game that doesn't have any plot to it, and this isn't the plot of the card game at all. Like,
I would imagine it would be hard to, given that.
Right, like this is basically an oatmeal show.
The preview on Netflix basically just starts with a white cat coming in, like, "Hi, I'm God."
Yes,
or a god.
No, he's Yahweh. He's the Christian God.
Awesome.
All the other gods are sick of him because he's basically been fucking off and he burnt down like a third of heaven on accident because he passed out making food.
And I've only seen one scene of it, and it is pretty funny where he's like, okay, so someone here asked for a miracle, and you're the guy wearing jeans that have zippers that can make them turn into shorts. So that seems on brand for you.
Yes, it's all that kind of shit.
It's like the guy that's asking for help.
Like he decides he's going to help the family out by bonding them together, by making them all small enough to play a board game, like for real.
Oh, wow.
And then makes them have to fight shit. Like it doesn't not work, but it's not as funny as I thought an oatmeal cartoon would be. I don't know. We watched 2 episodes of it. I wouldn't have been opposed to a third one playing, but we also picked something else to watch. Like I'll probably watch more, but it was better than okay, but not great.
Sure.
Though occasionally, oh God, he gets God Cat. His powers don't quite work right. He at first he tries to just turn himself back into his swole God body. Okay. And he's in the middle of a playground, and like suddenly he's a cat with one huge swole leg and one swole arm, and he's like flopping around, and people are just screaming and running. Which he turns back into a cat. And they pick him up, but Animal Services picks him up and throws him with all the other cats. And he turns around and realizes that he can run them. So he has all the cats like twist their tails together and join together so that there's 2 cat feet and 2 cat arms, and he's sitting on top of the cat head. And they knock, like they're like knocking people out, knocking doors down. He escapes, and that's pretty fucking great. Like when the cat's tails wrap together to form the elbows.
Catron.
Oh man, it's fucking that was so like every episode had a moment that was like, okay, but it hit me about like Crapopolis of like I'll keep watching this, but
sure,
it's not as knockdown funny as I thought it'd be.
Crapopolis really paid off by the end, though. I think.
Yeah, like, and so I'll keep giving this a shot. I kept thinking like, no, Crapopolis paid off. Let's see what else I watched. Also going back through other movies because I watched the other 2 Beverly Hills Cops. I tried to watch Beverly Hills Cop 3. It's so bad. It's so bad. I gave up about 15 minutes in.
Looked not great.
And the villain is literally just like mustache curling terrible.
The preview Netflix showed me for that was just a long scene of him getting pepper sprayed.
That's not. Oh, in Axel F or
in Axel, yeah.
So after trying to watch 3,
sorry, I legitimately forgot, even though I recommended it to you,
Yes.
I legitimately forgot there was a Beverly Hills Cop 3 for a second.
Yes.
Which is funny because I
thought it would
told
help
you.
me. I thought watching 3 would help me watch.
But also 3 is really bad.
It is so bad. So I watched the intro to 3 and was like, this is terrible and I can't keep watching it. So I was going to flip over and watch Axel F. And the opening to Axel F does something that is just dumb that bothered me, and I turned it off. Basically, at the start of it, Axel's driving around Detroit and people are just yelling, fuck you, Foley, which is funny, except that it's a big city.
Yeah.
And he's in a car and there's people just yelling at him from the street. Like, how do you know it's him? How do you like,
well, how many people know?
Exactly. Like, I get it from a joke standpoint, but like it broke somehow where I was like, they can't all know him, can't do this joke.
Well, in the third one, he gets a character in that theme park named after him,
right.
Foley the Fox.
It's just, yeah. So I gave up on that one. We ended up throwing it back on yesterday or Sunday afternoon, and it past that, it is funnier than I expected. It is way funnier than 3. It is now the third best of the Beverly Hills Cop movies by a mile. They even do a nod back, like when he shows up in Beverly Hills, and of course it's not the same cops that he, Rosewood and Taggart turn up, but not where you expected. You've got Joseph Gordon-Levitt basically as the guy he's partnered with, and that actually worked way better than it did in the trailer. I was really surprised how well Gordon-Levitt and Murphy. Also, Murphy's really funny in this. He did not seem to have that chip on his shoulder about being Eddie Murphy that he used to have.
Yeah.
But Gordon-Levitt's like, so I'm looking back through your file here. Looks like in 84, you fucked a bunch of shit up in this city. 87, 93, not your finest hour. I was like, that's great.
93.
They do a lot of weird callback nods. Stealing the cement truck in the second one. They steal a street sweeper or something like that. In this one, it's fucking goofy. Him getting pepper sprayed just endlessly in a scene is pretty great. Like, he's just getting pepper sprayed, yelling at the woman like, you don't have to use that much. And she's like,
well, because she keeps she's on the golf cart with him. Like,
right. He steals her like Cushman golf cart,
and she's just on it because like you could just ride it.
Right.
Which is the thing I can't believe I've never seen in that movie before of like stealing someone's golf cart. Like, well, what if they just stood on it?
Because she just grabs on and hangs
grabs
on.
And just keeps pepper spraying the shit out of him.
Just keeps unloading it in his face. I ended up enjoying Axel F more than I thought. It's not a great movie, but man, if you're hanging out at home, it's pretty fun. Lisa and I also watched Taps with Timothy Hutton and a very young Tom Cruise and a very young Giancarlo Esposito and a very young Sean Penn and Timothy Hutton. They basically, George C. Scott is running a military academy, and they have an incident with some kids in town, and one of the townies pulls a gun, but it gets reported the opposite. It gets reported like one of the military, like George C. Scott or somebody pulled a gun and shot. Okay. And so they're going to close the school. Like, basically they take George C. Scott away and they're going to close the school down.
Okay.
And which they were going to close they were going to close the school down anyway, or wasn't, but
I was going to say, because I'm like, man,
but like instead of doing a summer session and then wrapping it up, we're just done. And so all the boys that were going to be there for the summer session, like the military school kids that clearly fucking live there, basically, steal all the live weapons.
Oh my God.
Like a warehouse full of M16s and some heavy artillery, like some 50 cals. And then they just take the school. And it turns into a fucking long standoff with little kids.
Oh my God.
Like honestly, I should have held this back to lead straight into Kotaro, because like some of these kids are small and they're like having like real talks behind sandbags at a gate where there's a tank with a fucking floodlight on outside of the real military, like,
oh my God,
like standoff. Yeah, man. Gus Fring gets accidentally set on fire. Like, shit goes wrong, man. Cruz flips out. It's a wild movie. And it's definitely before any school shootings.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, like,
because just the plot of it, you're like, no, these kids are terrifying. And like the adults don't quite see it yet.
Yeah.
And like, no, if that happened now, we would know that these kids are terrifying.
Well, them taking over the school, like, is honestly inherent, like, is a more inherent threat of like, I get like the movie's trying to put them like, well, they were wrong. Like they got reported that they pulled a gun on a civilian.
Yeah.
And then they took, in response to that, they took over the school with stolen guns. I'm like, oh, so it's not that you wouldn't do something like that.
But we didn't.
But you didn't that time, and that was wrong. Like,
when they enact their plan to lock the school down and take it over, they send 2 trucks, like 2 kids in 2 trucks into town to go pick up the food delivery a little bit early because they're about to do a siege. And like they managed to bullshit the dude and get the trucks loaded full of food, and they're driving back, and one of the trucks stalls, and a bunch of town kids go like, "Hey, you're the kid that shot at so and so," and like, "No, that's not what happened." And like they almost get pulled out of the truck by some town kids, and Cruz jumps out with an M16 and just fires it into the air.
Jesus.
And like, there's just lots of little things where like, okay, you didn't technically hurt anybody or do anything that wrong. You actually got your friend out of a very badass whooping that was about to happen.
Yeah.
But also now your siege looks so it's escalated before it even starts.
Yeah, like, and like you've yeah.
It's
like nowadays it holds a different context.
Very much. We also watched Muriel's Wedding with damn it, I'm blanking on her name. Hereditary. The mom.
Toni
Collette. It's like her first movie. She is an insane woman in Australia who basically just steals a shitload of money from her family and goes to Sydney, and it's just fucking weird. It's both really funny and really sad. Came out in the mid-90s, back when Miramax, like we saw the Miramax logo at the top, and we're like, so this is a year when Weinstein was just out of control. Like, yeah, this would have been the height of that. Yes. But yeah, Muriel's Wedding was really funny. It's streaming right now. Then you and I watched Galaxy Quest after watching Lake Placid for our Patreon. Galaxy Quest remains fucking hilarious. The movie is flawless.
I don't even know what to say about it at this point.
No,
it's just
go watch Galaxy Quest again. You've probably already
flawless.
Seen it. Always good. And then down to our desserts.
All right, so since we're recording this early, we're not updated on The Boys.
Right. There's still a Boys up to drop in a couple of days.
Right, so let's just start with that probably. So
yes, so the Vought Christmas special was the last one that you got to see, or that we got to see. That I love bringing back the same puppet maker that made the puppets in Gen V. So the puppets look fantastic.
I was a little sad that didn't carry over to more of the show.
I know. I wanted more.
I was right though. That fucking A-Train, the puppeteer on A-Train was a white guy doing a black scent. Like I knew it. Like I'm like, no.
You know, I know that was written into the writer's room. Of like, no, it has to be. Like this is how Vought would do this.
Yeah.
And I love. Oh man, we got a great moment with Ryan, which I honestly didn't think they could give me again, of him genuinely not being okay with this, and like the moment with Butcher telling Kessler, no, that's why I have faith in the kid. Because like Ryan is really not cool with if you see something, say something song.
Well, honestly, that whole song, I'm like, no, kids aren't morons. Like I remember distinctly like, hey, we didn't watch VeggieTales for a reason, right?
Well, like when I was growing up, like in grade school, I was the height of Just Say No, Nancy Reagan, Dare era.
Yeah.
And my dad absolutely had a drug problem, and I didn't quite understand it, but I was definitely aware that something was going on. And I distinctly remember being told, like, to help your parents, like to help your if they've got a drug problem, you should snitch. And I remember like in grade school thinking like, I'd fucking orphan myself.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I mean I've got grandparents that but like even as a kid, like no, my home's still standing. Ryan, I'm gonna stick with stability.
Ryan has the moment of like you're asking kids to like turn their parents in,
and I like they're being 9/11 level explicit about it. Could be a doctor making vaccines. It could be like oh my god, but it definitely hit home for me on the like kids, you should turn your parents in if they've got drugs in the house. Like cool kid. Who do you think like drugs in the house or not? Like who's paying the mortgage there?
Yeah, I would say this season has gotten less subtle in only the fact that the world has gotten more ridiculous since it started. Like, hey man, now we have to like really get unsubtle with the Christmas special because otherwise you fucking morons won't look different enough to real life.
Honestly, season 1 feels so subtle and low key when I went back and watched a couple of eps.
Yeah,
and it's just, the world has escalated. Like the real world.
It's had to escalate with the real world as far as, you know, the song that they sing is so ridiculous and over the top. And I'm like, yeah, but If it wasn't, I wouldn't know it's a parody.
Right, right. It's the same problem we've been running into with The Onion in the last 20 years, like, 15 years with any kind of satire. Like, how do I know you're making fun of it when the world looks like a joke?
I did like that. That gives it a great moment. Like early on, Kessler asks Butcher, like, why, like, man, you don't really care about any of these soups.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really care about anybody. And what, Ryan, he's not even your kid. Like, fuck that kid. Like, why you got so much faith in him? And then, like, at the very end of the episode, great moment.
We also get a truly gross shapeshifter soup.
Yeah.
And we get Sage revealing that she knew A-Train was the leak, and or at least saying it this way.
Was giving it false
was feeding him false intel, which honestly feels like a Sage plan and would be pretty easy to do. A-Train's not that slick.
Well, also, in like, wait, why did you not tell Homelander about it? I'm like, well, probably because you'd kill A-Train and fuck this all up.
Right. Because I can't trust you to play it cool and let me use him.
Right. Because every time I tell you who might be the leak, you laser their face off.
Right, right. I mean, at the very least, he would not be able to be cool in a meeting and not be like, wink, wink, I know you're the leak.
Well, like, Sage shows that, like, Firecracker may be his new bestie or whatever. Like, you realize she totally fucked up with Webweaver, right? Like, he'll admit to anything.
Like, that idiot would tell you he shot Kennedy if you would get him a fix.
Yeah. Like, you don't think you're smart because you got one junkie to confess to something he didn't do. Also,
it shook Firecracker when he literally tore Webweaver in half.
Yeah. She hasn't seen that level of violence yet.
No, and he's licking the blood off his lip. And
because she wasn't even there when they beat those protesters to death with baseball bats.
No. Yeah, this is the first time she's really seen the guy she's in literal bed with.
Also, like, the Sage, I'm like, fully revealing to me that Sage is not as smart as I think she is, as far as, like, or not as, like, aware or savvy.
Like, you can still have huge blind. I mean, Homelander's full of shit when he says you have intelligence and I have wisdom, because he doesn't. But he's not wrong in where her blind spot lies. She does not understand people well enough, and she's so bitter and distrustful that she's got a blind spot from the chip on her shoulder.
Well, it's like, because he says, like, you're fired. You're like, that's it? Like, you're lucky I'm not sending you home in a bucket. Like, just leave. Go back to whatever fucking hole you crawled out of.
Yeah.
And she goes, like, but you promised. And I was like, yeah, and you believed him, dummy.
No, that her you promised you would listen to me is the saddest, dumbest thing she's ever said.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, but it shows me again that she has not evolved past the little girl, like the 6-year-old that wouldn't get listened to.
No, her emotional intelligence is stunted at
every superhero's emotional intelligence. A-Train is only getting better because he's finally, like, being an adult.
Right. Meanwhile, the Deep's getting worse. I think the Deep might genuinely be at the bottom now.
The Deep has an opposite arc. Has an opposite arc.
Lord. And we've been talking about this for a few episodes, but this episode made it absolutely clear when he kills Ambrosia.
Yeah.
That I cannot believe, on a show full of fucked up murders, like full, that one actually shook me. Like, well, it's such a character death moment. I mean, Ambrosia dies, but like the Deep,
you realize
the Deep dies inside there.
A-Train did the same thing with his girlfriend. With his girlfriend, but we're gonna forgive him because he's a murderer and not a sex offender, like not a sexual assaulter.
Right.
Because we, as a culture, I'm not saying anything.
No, but this is the same episode that Deep also delivers his. I'm not sorry that I.
Yeah, his anti-woke speech of like, hey, you. Me Too's over. It didn't work.
Yeah.
And honestly, May, like, I don't want to look into the stats or whatever on as far as, like, I'm just going to assume things got at least significantly somewhat better. But I'm
deeply afraid they didn't.
I feel deeply afraid that statement is not inherently wrong.
Yeah.
Because he's like, yeah, and I'm not sorry. I don't even know, like, he doesn't even address like what he did.
But when he forced her to give him a blowjob,
like whatever, like I don't know.
First time in the meeting room,
he makes it everything. I'm like, how did he try to cancel me and like fuck you? Like,
I guess that's what you like to do to good white men. Like, is it, man? Is that what happened? I don't think it is.
Black Noir, like the new Black Noir, and him like having this whole like bro, only for it to get derailed by Sage at the end.
Oh man, I love Black Noir saying, "But I love you," and like, bro. She lobotomizes herself to sleep with you. Lobotomizes herself.
Yeah.
Like, bro.
Like, the Deep is so sad.
Oh, man.
Like, even now, where he's his full villain turn, I'm like, I'm sorry. It just feels like a sad puppy trying to be hard.
Absolutely. No. When he's, like, zoned out while Homelander's in, like, that's it, man. I'll kill anybody you want me to. Like, yeah. I'm like, oh, you like, sad man.
Like, it's, like, I can't even him killing me, I would still be like, nah, bro, I still somehow feel sad for you. I know I'm choking on my own blood right now, but like you're you, so I feel like I'm still getting the better end of this.
Feel like victories? Because like honestly, it all just seems weak. Yeah. Man, the boys just remains fucking fantastic. I don't know what people are talking about on this season. I'm fucking loving this. It's hilarious and brutal and unsubtle.
Well, honestly, the Butcher's even doing better than like when he gets told the virus can't go enough to get Homelander without it going real bad.
He's like pisses his fucking brainworm off and goes and tells everybody.
Yeah, and honestly, everyone else is super mad at him for all the shit he's saying because it is nuts and crazy. But us as the audience are like, no, but you don't realize how much he's.
This is a win.
Like this is a really win for Butcher. Right. For anyone else, this would be bare minimum humanity. But like we have to grade him on a curve here.
Right. I think somebody even says that of like, man, I'm just sick of the bar being so low for you, man. But yeah, and then the final reveal that makes me just champing at the bit to see this week's.
Yeah.
That shapeshifter soup, because they were really being actually fed false information, is not trying to attack the president. The whole goal of that was to get them chasing them, like get Starlight chasing or near them so that they could replace Starlight.
Yeah.
So Huey gets to technically sleep with a Starlight lookalike in the Starlight uniform.
Well, they should have known that the January 6th, because they knew that they were going to invoke the 25th Amendment. I'm like, well, then why would they need to storm the Capitol?
Right. This will just engender sympathy.
And that was more of I think the show is trying to just reflect
absolutely
more than anything else. Because honestly, they're smart enough as a CIA group or whatever
to know that that's bullshit.
Like Butcher or Frenchie or someone should have known
all that in a drawer.
Like you fall, and that's what I was like. Wait, that's just in a drawer somewhere, guys. Come on,
right?
This wasn't even like really well hidden from you enough for it to be like.
Sage's subterfuge was not that deep.
No, and her deep got subterfuged.
Well,
no, does that work?
No.
Yes.
Yes. No.
It was the best I could get on that. Like,
you have the soul of a poet. Bro. And then in My Adventures with Superman, we get the death of Clark Kent, but then we also get two episodes we're talking about.
Yeah, because we left off on the Black Mercy.
Yes, so the death of Clark Kent's the Black Mercy episode,
which is actually convenient because like the Black Mercy is kind of like a two-parter in this because we get the episode where he's like Brainiac's trying to figure him out, and then he eventually traps him in it, and then we get the next episode, which is Lois going in after him.
Man, and so at the episode of Brainiac trying to figure him out was great. I was amazed it didn't trip any framework hate in me of being stuck in Clark's head or whatever as Clark's holding on to like, that's not a real memory. Stop fucking with me. And then it is so brutal when in the last 5 minutes of that episode, you feel like Clark figured it out and wins.
Yeah.
And that false win is the thing you need to actually trap him.
Right.
Because now he thinks he won, and here's your reward. You'll accept the Matrix as your reward.
Yeah, but you got to fight first. Like it's not
right.
Because like, and even the Matrix said like we created a utopia, but people rejected it.
Yeah.
Like I kind of like that idea, and then so like he gets Clark's body, and they try and take it down with kryptonite, but it's killing Kara too, and Brainiac just calls their bluff on it. Like, look, man, you can kill fucking Clark, but I'll just jump into another one of my bodies. You won't win anything.
Yeah.
And so like he gets to keep his superpowered Kryptonian body, which is like the thing he wanted all along.
With his weird bare chest fetish, barefoot, like he immediately makes it a little kinky.
Oh my god, it's so anime.
Yeah.
Like as far as like how anime the episodes have,
Eon
like,
Flux Clark is weird.
Like this one is very like, oh, so the teen girl that's writing this is going through her like bad boy phase now,
right,
and it's getting real weird and uncomfortable. Like her this is where the manga drawings in her notebook get kind of weird, and you're gonna like, well, I'll skip a couple pages until you get past this.
right.
But
so when that episode ends with an amazing Lois moment of her going, I'm going to go save Clark. And just throwing the Black Mercy on.
Yeah. it's again just another version of her jumping off of a goddamn building.
Right,
like,
right.
There's no like, because like she doesn't know what that is.
No,
she has like no like, all she knows is that Clark is trapped in it and can't get out.
Right.
So there's no guarantee she can get out of it.
Right. And she gets there and doesn't have her own memories.
So there's one part of it that I thought, because they give her back her memories so soon, I was like, well, that's kind of a pointless plot line. Why didn't she just have her memories?
Right.
Like,
right.
If you're not gonna play with that,
no, she remembers so quick that it's really just a momentary fake out.
Yeah, it's just like part of one conversation.
Right,
I'm like, this would be more clever if it was over the time you were learning about each other, but you almost immediately go back to her, remembering everything,
which is fine. I don't know why they did it. And then I love the Black Mercy being somewhat sentient and it realizing like we have a job to do. Our job is to keep him trapped here. She is a glitch, which the amount of times that they use glitch as bitch is hilarious. But like it just short of Lois going, who you calling a glitch?
Who calling a glitch?
And like
doesn't she say that?
I think she does, because they're like this glitch won't leave. Like call me a glitch again, motherfucker. But I love them realizing that they can't erase her.
No,
they've got their weird command phrase.
I love when they realize it, but I love it more when Lois realizes it. Because Lois like, oh, you can't get rid of me, can you?
Like, no, we can. Listen, whatever the fucking magic word is.
It's like, you are very annoying. I have been told that.
So then Lois just constantly trying to figure out ways to remind Clark of who he really is, and of course it eventually works and we get our great moment, and then we get my favorite thing in the episode,
which is so like
they're in Clark's mind. This like Lois's body in here is technically a construct out of how Clark feels about her,
right?
And I love his explanation of like, well, you're the strongest person I know.
It's so
she's got all his powers.
It's so cheesy, and
honestly, like everything else in the show, it works so much for me.
It's like I'm like, wait, this is dumb and like in such bullshit,
and
like
I'm so on
part
board.
of the cards logic, and it works so well that you will as they are doing it, you'll have the thought in your mind like, this is so hard on its sleeve, it hurts, and yet it's
when her eyes light up as well as his. Like it's so good.
Like she punches Jor-El's construct for a minute and just like, whoa,
how did I do that? Yeah.
And then like Clark is like, and you and me immediately knew what was up. Like, yeah.
And then she can fly too. I mean, they join hands to do it, but like them punching at the fucking matrix ceiling of it.
And because Clark thinks you're the strongest, bestest person ever. Like,
and oh man, it's of course all of this is happening as Brainiac is just like about to whoop Waller's ass on Earth. All of that's great too. Waller brings out Lex, which his plan would have worked for the previous invasion.
Yeah. Well, that's the man. So that's the thing I was worried about when they were planning for this, prepping for this invasion. I'm like, cool. You're prepping for an invasion that one isn't coming because the Kryptonians aren't actually coming, which is also kind of right. The Kryptonian tech is on its way. And so they're like, man, you get to kind of have it both ways of like, you're prepping for an invasion that just isn't really what you think it is. And also the invasion that comes. Yeah. I mean, you would have done a real number on us 20 years ago.
Right. But like, not now. Yeah. When Brainiac yells, lower the kryptonite shielding.
Yeah.
And like they all turn white with their different armor. And then like,
oh,
there you go. Well, that
was it. I guess that was all. That's all we had.
Right. And then eventually, I think by the end of the episode, he hacks the Metallos to attack, and that's how he brings. This show is fucking amazing. I'm so in love with all their choices here.
Honestly, one of the other things I felt like Waller should have been more open to the idea of another, like, because she's like, hey, there's an invasion coming. Like, yeah, we'll be ready for Superman when he comes. Waller, there's no one here for you to like impress with the Superman talk. You can be real and be like, oh, is there more Kryptonians on the way? Like, what's the deal? Like, honestly, I thought that was more of a ploy of like, I hate Kryptonians and Superman, and so I'm just going to ignore all the good shit he does. Like, but why would she think Jimmy is talking about Clark?
Yeah.
Why would she think that? Like, that's just a weird thing they make. I don't want to be like say like Randy thinks that Amanda Waller is a bad person, but kind of has a heart of gold or whatever. I'm like, I've never seen her that way. But also I don't think she's dumb. Like,
no.
She seems kind of like dickish to the point of being dumb in this episode, which is a thing I would try to avoid.
Well, she's what they want Cecil to be on Invincible. Like she has the nation's interest at heart, and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the citizens can die to protect the ideal behind it.
Well, yeah, because they
like she would get everyone in a nation killed in order to preserve the nation.
I like the flame birds coming after for Jimmy, the journalists.
When he live streams his own arrest, and then fucking Steve, Wolfpack rides again.
Wolfpack rides again.
I love that wolf van. Woo. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. These episodes were freaking great. I can't wait to see it. And next up this Sunday will be the finale. Then.
Yeah, I think so.
And then we've got to be coming up on The Boys pretty soon.
Oh, is the next episode not the finale for The Boys?
Or? It may be. I'm not sure. I don't remember the count on The Boys. But I do know we're at the last of My Adventures with Superman. So that went too quick. Well, now feels like a good time to mention that if you haven't joined us over on patreon.com/tvdudes, you can throw down $1 an episode and get bonus content each week. You're only charged for the bonus eps. So for $4 a month, you will get double the pod. Or for $5 an episode, you can send us your own review of a show. We'll read it on the pod each week.
Absolutely. Or for $20, like what Danny Doggett did, you can pick out 4 episodes of something.
Anything.
And we will watch it. So let's get into Danny's selection for this week. Kotaro lives alone.
My name is Kotaro Sato, and I just moved in next door. Please accept this as a token of my goodwill.
So where are your parents? At work?
I shall be the only tenant of the room next door. It has been a pleasure meeting you, good sir.
Is he renting that room by himself?
Hey there, Kotaro! Thank you for the tissues yesterday.
Hello, mistress of room 201, and good day to you.
You can just call me Mizuki, okay?
Hey there, widow Kotaro! A stuffed Toro-samon doll!
I shall accept this offering. However, you must keep your distance, tenant of room 102.
My name's...
Kotaro Lives Alone is a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by...
I guess I could pronounce
Mami Sumara?
Kotaro?
By Mami Sumara.
Mm-hmm.
It was serialized and then made into a live-action show and now a Netflix anime. Yep. Which aired in March 2022 on Netflix, produced by Leiden Films. So this has been out for a minute. Obviously, it wasn't on our radar because anime. But Danny picked it and then picked episodes 1, 3, 5, and 10 out of the 10 episodes season. I did not watch episode 2, but Nick did. We ended up just watching all of this.
Yeah. Again, like, don't want to get Danny's head too big of this, but again, a stellar pick.
Absolutely, indeed.
We greatly enjoyed Kotaro Lives Alone.
This is very, very different. This is much closer to Carol and Tuesday in vibe than Delicious in Dungeon.
Yeah.
Or the one where the guy's got the ghost girl. Is that?
Oh, Hanabari.
This is felt like that a little bit, but this is so much better. So this show is super, super weird. It is utterly normal except for its basic premise. But there's no magic, there's no dragons, there's no monsters, there's no kaiju, nothing. The weird thing is that this kid is 4 and he rents this apartment and a lawyer brings him his stipend from, he doesn't know where it's from, but we know it's his mom's life insurance each week. I don't care if he has the money to pay for the apartment. How? He's 4. There's no way to sign the contract. Like, there's no way. The lawyer's leaving the money with them. Like, the show is about him as a kid being able to bust through a lot of cultural norms and really ask people how they're doing or comment on things they're doing, which helps all his neighbors. And his interaction with them, he gets what he needs because basically every adult in the show has some moment of, is that a little kid? And then they do something to help him, which is great. At no point do these adults like step in and help. Like, I mean, and by that I mean like call an authority, which I don't know if that's a cultural difference in Japan. It is how the show works. It's where the Wonder Years magic of it comes from, because like Kotaro is a kid and like these adults getting involved and not being able to not be involved kind of awakens the hey, has life ground you down? Remember the spark of joy of living, which is what little kids, knowing kids, being around kids, like it should keep you young.
Yeah,
but
I want to go
nobody
ahead.
steps in and is like, should we call child services?
So I want to go ahead and take a guess here, and say that, because I'm not super familiar with Japanese culture. I'm more like just from osmosis of more anime that I watch or whatever. But I know that they have different ideas of comedy, and writing and storytelling. They have a different like idea here. I'm wondering if they have a different cultural expectation and ideology when it comes to privacy, and
it sure seems like there's a mind your fucking business.
Like it there. I wonder how much in Japan is like if it doesn't consume you or your family, shut the fuck up and mind your own business,
man. Because
how about you keep your goddamn nose?
The first few episodes, especially, like Kotaro seems to be really like just busting through some. I just won't ask about my neighbor laying there passed out in their own doorway.
Right, that some sort of like that propriety
kind of
or politeness will not allow these characters to talk to each other about it.
Right. And like Kotaro but like he would be the one to just end the kingdom in episode 1 when he's like, is the emperor dead? He looks dead.
Man, that emperor looks fucking dead, man.
Because there's just no norms, and he is such a prescient, weirdly adult kid. Beyond any, like, I know there's a live action of this. I cannot imagine them finding a child to do this.
The live action style, like, I honestly,
it looks like they aged him up a little.
You need a little bit of a unreality for this to work. I think you need the animation as a buffer
because he needs to be the little kidness is what cracks open these adults. Like it isn't, man. If you just had a neighbor that was sad, you'd be like, fuck that dude.
Right. It would, fuck him.
Like the unreality that almost breaks the show is the same way the show works. Like this thing occupies a knife's edge for me. It works so well, but I can't believe how.
No, and it feels particularly balanced.
Right,
right.
Over and over, they introduce you to characters where you think something pretty bad's gonna happen, just based on like all my years of watching any pop culture media, and inevitably, it's not. It's a show about extending trust and taking your lumps sometimes for doing that, but that's the better way to live.
It's a show about trauma in a way that I have not seen another show deal with it.
It's sweet and beautiful and gave me chills sometimes and teared me up sometimes. We just let the episodes roll because there's not really a frame of this to miss.
It's and also kind of a tutorial for like parents and like to watch for these are behaviors of a child in neglect.
Right.
Be on the lookout for these types of triggers and phobias and stuff like that.
I was tempted at the start of the show. It's easy to think that Kotaro is some kind of magic fairy sent to teach these adults lessons and that he has all the answers because he's so self-assured and serious and kind.
Yeah, he talks that way because of his favorite
TV
cartoon.
show. Yeah,
and like he's trying to be what the perfect ideal of what he thinks an adult is.
But the show isn't afraid to push into these kind of sad childlike misunderstandings that he has. He doesn't know all the answers and isn't flawless and like.
No, honestly, he's wrong about Isuma and his kid. Because Isuma is trying to live vicariously through him, and Kotaro's like, "Hey, you have your own kid. Go be with him."
Right.
And I was kind of like, "Yeah, why are you so weird?" And then when the kid shows up, and he said that his kid doesn't really want to see me, which was just a lie or whatever. It's a shared custody thing, and it's not his. Whatever shared custody it is.
His ex hates him and does not want the kid to see him.
And does not want this. And even though the kid obviously idolizes him and loves him, and Isuma has to do the hard thing when the kid shows up. And Kotaro is like, what the fuck did you do, man?
Like has to scold his kid of like, you can't run away. Hey, you can't run over here.
But mom's like, we're not talking about mom right now.
Your mom is worried. Your mom is worried sick and I'm going to call her right now. This is about you and me.
It is about you and me and you disappointed me.
Right. And you can tell it's one of those like, it's hard. It is the exact right thing that he needs to do right then. Like I was watching the show and like.
He cries after.
Yeah. Like this is fucking, that's real, man. That's hard.
He really cries. And like, I welled up. I was like, no, but he did as far as custody goes or whatever, he did the exact right thing he needed to do because he needs to. Obviously, the situation with him and his kid was not what I thought it was. Him and the kid are fine. What he needs to work on is him and the ex-wife.
Yeah.
That's where the trust needs to be built.
Yeah.
And this is not how to build that trust.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I can count on one hand the number of times I saw my dad like cry when I was a kid, and 2 of them were having to put me on a plane and send me back to my mom's because his 1 week a year was done.
Yeah.
Or like the 2 weeks he could see me, and like he could have seen me more. My mom would have made time, but just our lives didn't work.
And he explains it to Kotaro, and Kotaro like does get it like by the end there, like, oh, okay, I guess I kind of like messed that up a little bit. Then that's on me. I'm putting a lot of words in Kotaro's mouth. Imagine everything like what I say Kotaro's saying. He's doing with this feudal
Japan.
Like,
yeah,
let's away is one of my favorite. Like I kind of want to do that now whenever we go somewhere.
Let's
away.
Indeed.
That felt kind of fun. Of like that makes us like going to the grocery store does feel like an adventure.
Right.
Like let's away.
Man, the very first episode opens with like when he's in the grocery store and he's buying the right tissues. Which again, don't ask any questions. It's the saddest backstory.
Like, why does he like expensive tissues less?
Because he's a 4-year-old on his own, and there was a time when he had nothing to eat and he just ate tissues, and these have better ingredients and they're slightly nutritious.
So like, yeah, he doesn't like the cheap, colorful kid ones.
Right, because you can't live on those.
Yeah, and honestly, he keeps, even though he has food, he keeps eating them at his new place. He keeps getting them, and the guy's just like, here, buy a bunch of these cheap ones.
Stop this. Yeah,
you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, you aren't alone anymore.
Because it's like some sort of trauma response. And even, man, when he first sees the kid going to that grocery store, and he's like, the fuck is this kid like alone? Where is his parents?
Right.
And then he sees on the news of like all these child abductions. Like, oh man, what are these adults doing? Not paying attention. Oh shit, am I one of those adults?
And that's when he like goes next door and like, hey kid.
Well, like basically all these adults in this complex basically look after this kid.
Yeah. When somebody new moves in, they flat out explain it of like, oh yeah, there's a 4-year-old down the hall that lives alone. We all help out.
Yeah.
Like what?
Like, well, what do you expect to just do? Call his parents? Like that's none of our business.
No, I'm just gonna walk a 4-year-old to the bathhouse every day.
Well, dude, they finally explain. Eventually, they give a reason not to call or not to look into it.
Right, the dad is psycho.
Because
or has been psycho, and the mom is dead.
He gives like he doesn't want his picture taken, and of course, and like, well, you'll ask like why? Oh no, I asked a question about Kotaro.
Right.
Which means I'm like at the saddest
he had to run away from the group orphanage.
Because his dad
they took a photo of the group of
and
kids,
posted it online, and saw it on the page, and he showed up there, and
like Kotaro hiding like duck and cover under a bed while his dad in the other room screams, "Give me my kid."
He sees some other kids from the group home every once in a while, the older ones that have aged out. So it's been a year or so.
And he ran away without saying bye, and like he runs into a couple of the kids from the group home.
Right, the kid meets him on that meteor shower because they promised they'd stay there, and I love that he had no expectation of like, well, the kid probably doesn't remember.
So he would have been like a 2 or 3-year-old when you knew him.
He was 3 years old, but on the off chance he does, I have to be there.
And here's this 4-year-old sitting on a park bench in the middle of the night.
Yeah, like, hey, Kotaro, looks like you got things working out. That's great.
Yeah.
Then the PI shows up. That is like his dad hired to find him.
Right, that guy's a son of a bitch. I mean, he ends up being all right, but
well, I mean, he's all right, but he still gets paid. He makes sure he gets paid.
Oh yeah, he's like, oh, I'm a slimy piece of shit, but come on.
But he shows that like, this show does not shy away of like, oh yeah, I gave his dad
shirt up.
I gave his dad a fake address because I know what the deal is. He
pulls his shirt. He's cigarette burns all over his
cigarette burns. Like, yeah, I had a dad like that. Fuck that guy. And they all explain like, and even anyone who has trauma, like childhood trauma, like that has had that experience, basically tells them like, yeah, you can't tell that kid that their dad sucks. Like, he's not going to believe you. That's a thing that he will have to learn on his own in his own time, and he will. But that's not a thing you can do anything about right now.
And I mean, they're also protecting him from like the lawyer won't tell him that his mom's dead. And then in the very last episode, they go to his grandparents' grave.
Yeah,
and his mom's grave's right next to it.
Well, it's family grave, so that makes sense.
And Kotaro?
Kotaro.
No, the next door neighbor.
Oh, the next door neighbor. I think it's Shin.
No, his name is also a K.
Karno.
Yeah, Karno. Shin Karno. Yeah. So then when Shin sees the mom's grave next to it and then just stands there, at first I was like, why is he fucking being weird? Oh, and that's why they showed us visually, isn't this a pretty name?
Yeah, like that's like, hey, we're about to do something here in a minute,
and you're going to need to recognize the kanju on the kanju letters, on the grave,
kana or whatever it is.
And like fuck, the show's brutal and sad and beautiful and really weird and special. It is so anime. Like it's not. It is very very another culture's cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it says so many universal things about isolation as an adult and loneliness and taking care of yourself that I would want everybody to watch some of this. It is beautiful and silly and fun and cute. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I mean, well, even the other characters, like they resolve things in a realistic way that, like, in a normal show, they'd all band together and help Mitsuki with her abusive boyfriend, call the cops would do something about it, and they'd all stand together and help her.
But she calls the cops and then it's like, I should still
so she could stay at the apartment. And in this one, like, man, Kotaro gives her advice that at first seems like fucked up. Of like, hey, you don't want to be the reason someone you love becomes a villain.
Well, because he believes that he's the reason his dad turned shitty.
Yeah.
And that's sad and insane. And like, that's little kid logic that needs to be dispelled. It's going to fuck that kid up.
Yeah. And eventually at the end of that, she does say that, like, that's not on
what happened. That's not on you.
And so, but she moves because, like, yeah, they don't have enough on him to do anything about it right now.
Like, I'm glad I reported it. It's good for her soul, but there's nothing to do about it cop wise.
Well, and then the PI says that there's a restraining order against his dad.
I'm like, so?
Like, yeah, so? Like, what? Like, whatever. I guess, he'll be in trouble once he has that kid's corpse, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, he'll be in real trouble.
It's enforceable next to the body.
But also, that also gives them a reason to, like, maybe they don't want to call child services, because either he might end up back in that home where his dad knows where he is, or just end up with his dad.
Right.
Like, because I don't know how Japanese childcare services is versus America, but in America,
I'm just gonna assume it's like Florida,
like man,
or Texas. Like, we've just lost kids. We just lose kids in the system.
Well, not only that, but the system will do anything. Will do a lot to keep kids with their biological parents.
Yeah, they will. If his dad's alive, they're gonna find a way.
Like, it takes a lot of abuse for an American child to get taken away from their biological parent.
To not be with their blood parents. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was amazed by this show. When we decided that we were going to record a little bit early because we had a couple of Patreons, on the dock and could pull those early.
Sure.
I did not expect to really enjoy Kotaro. This was very good. It's been 2 years, so I don't know if there's another season coming.
Well, honestly, it's not only good. I think it's actually kind of important.
No, I think people should watch this.
People really should watch this, so that maybe you weren't abused as a child, but like maybe you have a partner that it was, or someone in your life that was. And this, I guarantee you, this will actually help you understand.
This will make you reconsider unconscious behaviors or subconscious behaviors that people around you are doing that you're doing.
Yeah. And also, like, the mom's obviously setting up the life insurance. They're very vague on what the mom, like, did she kill herself? Did you get sick with something and then prep all this beforehand?
Well, she definitely left, which stuck the dad with Kotaro, which I would imagine is when the dad got shitty.
From what I understand, the dad was already gone. I think the dad was in jail at that time.
Oh shit! Okay,
I think that's where the restraining order came from.
And that's okay, and that's where him being alone,
and I think
the mom just left.
The mom leaves him alone, and it shows that she wears gloves to touch him.
Yeah.
So there's like the mom isn't
okay
either.
No.
But like it seems like the mom at least set up the life insurance to pay out to him specifically so that he could live without the dad. Like that seemed to be.
And maybe I don't know. Like I'm assuming the mom didn't kill herself because I don't think life insurance will pay out on suicides.
I don't think so. I think how I read it and my theory, I don't think there's my theory is that she got diagnosed with something like fucking terminal, real bad,
and then just walked.
And then like, okay, I'm gonna prep my kid's a weird kid already because Kotaro is already kind of a weird
he's already a weird kid.
He can already kind of take care of himself because we've been shitty parents already. I'm gonna prep him so that he can keep doing that rather than live with his dad because his dad will fucking because his dad's a fucking psycho and probably like sounds like a criminal.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I would recommend everybody go watch the first episode of this. It's on Netflix right now. There's only 10 of them. 5 hours of content total. And it's just heartfelt and beautiful.
And not all of it is sad. A lot of stuff.
No.
We focused on some of the sad stuff because it's important.
Because literally
every
other episode will just have a 2-sentence drop of the saddest bit of backstory ever. But everything between that is remarkably sweet and affecting. I can't believe how
there's a point where the manga artist finds his inspiration again by drawing on his bandages.
Yeah, Kotaro going to the hostess place where she works.
Yeah,
or Mizaki works.
Buying the time. Also, that moment where he can't take pictures, he's afraid to take pictures, has a sweet moment at the end where he can't take a picture, but
he gets a drawing of it.
He gets a drawing of it.
He wants the memory, but he's scared of photos now. Yeah, oh man, this is a very good show. Thank you so much, Danny, for picking it.
I really, man, you're honestly whatever the next one you pick, you got expectations now. Can you go 3 for 3?
Dum dum dum.
I say that he hasn't suggested a bunch of other stuff before, but
this is true. And Mob Psycho was all right.
Yeah,
just didn't rise to these.
But back to back, these are
fantastic. Yeah,
shit. Yeah.
And I would say that about wraps it up for us this week. You can tune in next week. We're going to discuss John Paul Vitale's showrunner selection, Unprisoned, over on Hulu, which I believe is Delroy Lindo and Kerry Washington, I think.
Sure. I mean, that's just the wrong term for it, though.
Unprisoned?
That's just being free.
Unprisoned. It is odd to say. It just
maybe that's
trips off the tongue.
Maybe that's where I'm still on parole, so there's still a lot of rules. I'm not really free. I'm more unprisoned.
Right.
There's a gray area in there.
I'm decarcerated. Well, until next time.
Oh, TV Dude's out, and we away.
That's away.
That kid's so goddamn cute.